Welcome to this month's Ideathon, featuring startups focused on food additives. My name is Elnaz Shabani, analyst here at Lux Research, and I will be moderating today's session alongside my colleague Urbi Patak, Senior Research Associate. On behalf of Lux Research, we are excited to welcome you to another installment of our monthly Ideathon offerings. The Lux Ideathon is a short startup pitch session organized around a specific theme combined with panel discussions. Attendees will get to hear about exclusive technology, innovation, and business strategies directly from the innovators themselves. We will also be taking your questions for the presenters to hear about industry bottlenecks and emerging opportunities. Our Ideathons aim to provide clients with industry insight and opportunities for partnerships, investments, and of course, networking. Throughout the Ideathon, you can type any questions you have in the questions box on your screen. Time permitting, we will answer all the questions that we can. If your questions that does not get answered, please do not hesitate to email it to questions@luxresearchinc.com and we will respond to you.
I'd like a moment to explain to this agenda and structure on.
I'd like to take a moment to explain today's agenda and structure of the Ideathon. First, we'll give an overview of the theme of today's discussion, food additives. Each participant will have 5 to 7 minutes to give an overview of their company, technology, and strategy.
But they will be present and they are responsible afterward when for today's event are given.
It seems like my colleague has some issues with connection. I'll take over. Lux has selected these companies and given them guidance on how to prepare, but they will be presenting their own pitches and they are responsible for the content and claims. Afterward, we will have a Q&A with each startup presenter. Getting into the main event, our theme for today is food additives. But what does it mean? Given the recent uptick in sustainable and food ingredients, animal-free production routes, including synthetic biology or using upcycled ingredients for food additives are gaining momentum. However, cost-effective commercialization timelines for ingredients and products vary widely between different production routes. The uncertainty surrounding potential policy shifts under the upcoming Trump administration could heighten these challenges, driving greater urgency for proactive solutions. This is particularly critical when sourcing climate-challenged ingredients like cacao, coffee, vanilla, and palm oil, as well as at-risk ingredients that pose health and safety risks. In response to these challenges, a growing number of innovators are creating alternative ingredients and processes designed to be environmentally resilient while aligning with consumer preferences for clean label products. Presenting today are representatives from 5 companies, representing the breadth and diversity of evolving production landscape of sustainable and clean label ingredients. Jeroen Hogenholtz, Chief Technology Officer at No Palm Ingredients, Chris Minnie, Chief Business Officer at Green Bioactives, Adi Yeheshkeli, CEO at Fabumin, Guy Bensby, CEO at Otaste, and Ding Jiatan, co-founder and CTO at Prefer Coffee. We are thrilled to have these representatives with us today, and let's kick it off with Jeroen Hogenholtz from No Palm Ingredients. Over to you, Jeroen.
Good morning, for, I guess, most of the viewers now, few of them also from Europe. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to present in the next few minutes the company No Palm Ingredients. And what we do is we produce palm oil without palm trees. And in this way, offering a local, circular, and sustainable alternative to palm oil and other topical oils. So our challenge is to replace palm oil. It is a great product, actually. It's versatile and affordable, but there is a problem, is that it is so popular that the annual production or the annual request for this oil is growing by 4% annually. And this cannot be delivered by responsible palm oil industry. So it will lead to more deforestation of tropical forest. So the consequences, especially if we look at the future where there are regulations in place where deforestation produced oils by deforestation will not no longer be accepted. We will see volatile and increasing prices. We will have out of stock risk and indeed the regulatory pressure and a higher demand for sustainable alternatives. And that's where we try to step in. And there is another pressing issue. The food system is drowning in waste. So we see more and more food waste being produced all over the world. And also there, we believe that we can offer a solution. So what we do is we have developed a simplified fermentation platform where we upcycle food waste into high-quality oils and fats, which can replace palm oil. And we use various side streams or waste streams like rejected vegetables or potato processing waste, and also surplus from the dairy industry. And we use that as a fermentation feedstock for our yeast, which then grow on this, form massive amounts of oil. And the result is that we have a sustainable oil that seamlessly can replace tropical oils, offering a palm-free alternative without compromising functionality or performance. So the quick overview of our process is that we use side streams from the food industry. We use our selected yeast. We do a fermentation process more or less like the brewery industry, so relatively simple equipment. And we then follow it with an extraction leading to pure oil coming out of the system. And we have also side products coming from leftovers from our process, like proteins and fibers, and also spent biomass. So we have already shown that our yeast oil matched the palm oil in function and affordability, while offering a circular process. We can produce it at locally using locally available side streams, and it is sustainable. So we have 99% reduction of land use and 90% or even more reduction of CO2 emissions. We have already successfuli proven the feasibility of these oils with different partners like Unilever and Zeelandia, which is a local bakery ingredient producer, and also with Colgate-Palmolive, where we used the oils to produce soap bars. And several products where we have shown that we can use one-in-one replacing palm oil or other tropical oils like chocolate, and also different spreads, and also alternative or dairy alternatives and meat alternatives. So the latest news in our endeavor is that we have actually scaled up our process successfully to 120,000 liter scale, which is the scale that is necessary for reaching these goals and replacing palm oil in the future. So that means that at this 120,000 liter scale, we still get the same productivity, and that means that we can produce our oils at price parity with palm oil. And to succeed in this industry, we need expertise and experience in this area. So we are a young company, but we have experienced players that are doing their role. So we have people that are experienced in building factories. We have people like myself experienced in fermentation. We have business people. We have people that are from the food industry and also from the pilot plant industry. And we have combined that together in a very strong team. We are looking for industrial partners that can provide the side streams in sufficient amounts and that want to provide a co-location, because that's basically what we want to achieve. Co-locate to get the most sustainable production process. We also want to look for industrial partners that want to co-develop their application where palm oil is replaced one-in-one with our oil. And we are also looking for industrial partners that have both, that want to provide us with side streams and also need a palm oil replacement to establish a beautiful circular factory. And with that, I end my presentation, and I'm ready for any questions you might have for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeroen. Great presentation. We have some questions from the audience, but let's start with this question. You recently scaled up your palm replacer to 120,000 liter. While the oil would need the European Food Safety Authority's approval, what should a food or agriculture industry player with vegetable side streams keep in mind in terms of feedstock adaptation before engaging with you?
Yeah, so we basically are aiming for both food industry, where lots of palm oil is being used, but also for the cosmetic industry. And there are two different requirements for these avenues. If you look at a food ingredient, so an oil, consumable oil, then it is important that the side stream is not handled as waste. Because as soon especially the legislation in Europe, and I guess it's also the same in the United States, as soon as something is waste, it cannot be returned back into the food chain. So it means that side streams should be kept as a side stream and not combined with waste and not considered waste. So that is a requirement to be able to produce a food ingredient. For cosmetics, it's different. The only important or the major important thing is there that we can produce it allergen-free, so that there are no strange allergens ending up in our oil, and we do all the necessary steps for that.
Great. Another question is about the use of side stream. How would you navigate the complexity of using side stream in your process, such as logistics, especially if you go in the larger scale, and also how to maintain the consistent quality of it?
Okay, first the logistics. So we want to co-locate with the supplier of the side stream. So that means that fermentation factory will be built on site of the supplier of the side stream, avoiding all kind of long distance movement and making it a much more sustainable process. We're looking, of course, for suppliers that can supply a specific side stream that is working for us, that we have developed together with them, like a potato side stream, or like a dairy side stream, or maybe vegetable waste coming from a supermarket. And then with respect to constant production or constant quality of the side stream, we expect, and we also see, that there are differences, seasonal differences in the side stream composition, and we can deal with that. That means sometimes a little bit more higher yield or lower yield, but we have seen that the quality or the composition of our oils is not affected by these slight changes in composition. It will become a more complicated story when we start mixing different side streams, but we do have already indications that some side streams can be combined very easily together, giving still the same composition of the oil.
Right, great. Thank you. Maybe one question around regulation that I see here. What regulatory hurdles do you anticipate to face in bringing in your basically yeast-derived oils to market, and how do you plan to navigate them?
Okay, so what we're doing now, we are basically following the principle of our oils being identical to existing oils that are on the market. So that is a substantial equivalence. And we are now basically putting in a file to our local agency so that we expect them to agree that our oil is actually not a novel food, but it is an existing product. And that is for the oils. For all our side streams, with especially the proteins, they are definitely novel foods, and we will go through novel food legislation there in Europe. And then for the United States, we will go for a self-GRAS procedure.
Awesome, great. I think for the sake of time, we can maybe move on to our next presentation, which is from Chris Meany from Green Bioactives. Over to you, Chris.
Brilliant, thanks, Elnaz. Hi, everybody. So I'm Chris Meany. I'm Chief Business Officer at Green Bioactives. So it's my pleasure today to introduce you to the company. Green Bioactives is a plant cell culture company based in Edinburgh in the UK. Our goal, we're on the strides to revolutionise the way that businesses can source specific plant natural ingredients. So in the plant natural space, there are numbers of ingredients that can be sourced from plants. So like humans produce adrenaline when we're under threat, when plants are under stress, they produce chemicals and molecules that can be effective in a number of different industries. However, this presents a series of challenges. So, for example, waiting for a plant to mature so it can be harvested can take a long time. And even then, plants may not produce enough of a required chemical to satisfy an industry demand. When harvesting these plants, we destroy natural habitats, and growing them uses a lot of land that could be used for food production, water, and energy in the process. And then even on top of that, you have to consider uncontrollable factors such as weather, plant disease, insects, and even politics, which can get in the way of production and supply. And that's where Green Bioactives plant cell culture technology really comes into its own. And for us, that starts with a very small sample from a plant. So we just take a cutting and then bring it into our lab. We're then able to isolate cells from that plant and put them onto solid media for growth in a lab on dishes. Our scientists then feed them the required nutrients to help them grow and develop. And then they're transferred into liquid suspension, where we train the molecules under stress scenarios, or the cells, sorry, to produce greater volumes of the molecules. And that's why we can achieve yields of 10, 100 times more than you get through natural plant production. And by doing that, we control the environment, so the process can be faster too. So you don't have to wait years or even decades in some cases for plants to reach maturity. And our scientists can check on them regularly to make sure we're developing them in the most compatible environment. And that means we can really focus on isolating the cells or the molecules that produce the ingredients we require, growing them specifically, and having much more active final finished product. And at the end of that process, we also have the fact that it's much better for the environment, which we'll come on to shortly. So what is the value proposition of plant cell culture? So, well, first of all, it's a world-leading technology. For us, it's not an easy one to master, and that is beneficial for us because it means not anybody can just go and copy what we're doing. And our technology works very specifically with vascular stem cells, which give us advantages over other traditional plant cell culture methods. We hear a lot from our customers that reliability of ingredients is very important. So in traditional harvest, processes going through offer great variability and specifications, and seasonality is key. So for example, in the Northern Hemisphere, a lot of plants are harvested around springtime. And because we work in controlled conditions, producing in bioreactors, but still being very natural, we're able to control those conditions and produce ingredients 12 months a year. And that means if a business has an increase or decrease in demand, then we can flex accordingly. Sustainability is key of what we do. So we deliver a lot of positive environmental impacts. So we offer greater biodiversity. We have a reduction in land and energy use versus traditional methods. We produce less emissions, and there are waste recycling opportunities. But it's not just something we say. We've had an independent life cycle analysis conducted by Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen and published in the journal Sustainability. And the key headlines from that showed a 98.8% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and a 93.8% reduction in energy use on plant cell culture technology versus traditional wild harvest. And then there's also the economic benefits. So when producing these molecules, we are able, as we increase yields, to bring price to market down, although that's not to say that we're overly expensive now. We have market price parity. And it also enables us to bring maybe ingredients that wouldn't be otherwise achievable through traditional methods. So then looking at the markets in which we can operate, well, plant extracts are used in a variety of markets, as you all well know. In the short term, we're focusing on nutraceuticals, which includes functional foods in that space, and then personal care and cosmetics. The reason being the very start, so we've gone through technical validation and we're starting to produce. It allows us to produce higher value molecules that have low volume inputs, which is true to these markets. But as we go forward, we'll be looking to step into further markets, such as like wider into the food and drink sector, into agriculture and other spaces too. In terms of how we produce and sell our products, so we work in a combination of different sized bioreactors, and then we're going through a process to scale up now. But we either produce and develop our own ingredients, and we'll have our first generation of products that are going to be launching in 2025. These will actually be in the cosmetic space. And then secondly, in the Nutra and functional food areas and going into food and drink, we work also on co-development projects. So we have partners who identify certain molecules they would like to include in their products. And we work on a shared cost basis to be able to go do the research and bring those out to market, knowing that we've understood the specifications and everything before that the customer requires. So yeah, as a company, we're really looking to go out there and make a change in how people can find these specific molecules, so we don't have to go and harvest whole plants. We can be very focused on the chemicals and molecules we produce to have that benefit across multiple industries. And with that, I'll say thank you and open the floor to any questions.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was very interesting. I do see some questions. So let's look into the overall industry of plant cell culture. So lately, this industry is seeing some increase in momentum especially for climate challenged ingredients like cacao, and plant cell culture also offers advantage like lower downstream processing. But given that the chemical extraction or precision fermentation can already produce plant bioactives at scale, what is your freedom to operate strategy to prevent being undercut by other low-cost alternatives?
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, good question. So we're very focused on the ingredients we produce. So not all plant-derived ingredients can be produced through other technologies. We're very aware that there are some that are better suited, but there are also sectors or specific ingredients that people are really focused on for keeping 100% natural, that go through from plant source without any sort of other interference. So that's where we specialize. Like we work very specifically, as I mentioned, with vascular stem cells, and that presents challenges in itself through plant cell culture. So normally people work with different dedifferentiated cells. We are working with them in taking them early stage, so they're not being reverted in meristematic state, and that means there are certain benefits we have. So, for example, there are no large vacuoles in the cells, which helps us with cryopreservation and being able to maintain those cell lines downstream. So yeah, absolutely, we are aware that there are some ingredients that are best suited, but when you look at plants, there are over 250,000 different molecules we could be working with, and we focus on those that are really suited to plant cell culture and the development there.
Thanks. And then, Chris, you also mentioned about your LCA analysis. So the next question coming here is based on your production methods, like how would you compare that in terms of land use efficiency versus conventional agriculture? And the second part is plant cell culture truly more scalable for mass production of these ingredients?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that answer. So I'll take the first one first. It varies from plant to plant. There's no generic answer. So, for example, in traditional harvest, one of the ingredients we're working with is licorice. Licorice has a commercial harvesting cycle of 5 years. So for every hectare of land you need to produce licorice, you need 5 hectares to maintain that supply. So that's something, obviously, where plant cell culture comes in. We have a very small footprint in what we do. And there are also challenges with licorice about where it grows. So it comes in politically unstable countries and needs transportation all over the world. And the other side is we work with saponins as an ingredient. Saponins grow from the Chilean sapebark tree, 2,000 feet up in the air. It takes 60 years to reach maturity. And actually, you only really need the bark of the tree to extract the required ingredients. So we prevent lots of trees being chopped down. And even if that was the case, there's not enough to satisfy global demand because that ingredient's used in multiple industries. So that's the first question. The second question goes on to the scalability. So yeah, there's absolutely a challenge in terms of scale. We are working with various partners of how we address that, because at the moment we're not in the full commodity space. And there's an argument that actually we may never be there, because to produce something at $10 a kilo, it is very expensive when you consider capex required. So that's why I think I touched on we focus on really high active molecules, and especially in the functional food space. If you're looking at nutraceuticals, getting into the personal care markets where lower input is valuable, that's a space. But then we're scaling out production at that level. We then have plans, and what we'd probably be looking at down the line is, if there's a requirement for this, it would move beyond our traditional business methods, and we'd be looking at some sort of joint venture or agreement with a business wanting to focus on something and have a separate entity structure for that. It is achievable, and it's been done with paclitaxel in the pharmaceutical market, the anti-cancer drug. And actually, the founder of that business, Bobby Bringy, is our chief scientific advisor. So we do have experience in going down that journey, but it's not something we can just roll out tomorrow.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Chris, for your presentation. And for our next presentation, it's from Adi Ehilkali from Febumin. Over to you, Adi.
Hi, thank you. Well, hi, my name is Adi. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Febumin, and we are turning waste into gold. So what we do, actually, Febumin is handling the wastewater of the legume industry. Every day, the legume industry pours million cubes of wastewater down the drain every day. The result is a heavy load on the sorting system and tremendous loss of fresh water. At the same time, the egg industry leaves huge environmental footprint. So this wastewater, as I mentioned, called aquafaba. And 10 years ago, a French chef discovered that this aquafaba can replace egg by its functionality in the food industry. So we have come up and we decided to dry aquafaba into a powder in order to make it an industrial raw material. So what we do, we located this evaporation and drying system on site inside the legume factory. There we hook into the boiling pots. We evaporate 80% of the wastewater. We cool the steam and return them to the factory as distilled water, completing circular economy. The left 20% are moving for final drying and then grinded into a powder. This powder binds, emulsifies, and it forms exactly like egg, even better than the egg itself. Now, we are in field test with those companies, our future customers, after we have proven them that we can save them money by using Fabomine. But first, we can address their pain points because Fabomine is affordable, sustainable, and versatile, multifunctional raw material. And we know, according to our customers and due to the catastrophe that we are experiencing now in the bird flu in Europe and in the States, the egg prices keep changing. And it's making impossible for our customer to plan a yearly production. So we have gathered, or we have developed dozens of recipes using aquafaba powder, Fabomine powder. And also this, regarding our impact, Fabomine is an impact company. And this is what we're gonna save in 1 year of production, only 1 year of production. And also we have donated 3% of the company's shares as charity to Freedom Farm. It's a sanctuary farm here in Israel that rescued animals from the food industry. Our business model is described here. The legume factory is purchasing the drying technology by themselves, not from us. We're an aquafaba company. We know how to dry aquafaba and we know what you can do with it. So the legume factory is purchasing the drying technology according to our specification. It's located, as I said, on site, and they can handle their own waste and sell us the aquafaba flakes, the end product for them. We transfer the aquafaba flakes into our powder processing facility, where we grind it into a powder, make some standardization protocols and mixes, and package it under Fabomine brand and sell it to our customers. So as I said, we have proven to our customers that they can save money. We can reduce their food cost by using Fabomine. Fabomine is a very strong and powerful raw material, so you can use a smaller amount versus egg. Yes, luckily, there are more competitors in the market trying to deal with the egg issues. There are the ingredient company, but it's only one functionality per product, while our product is multifunctional. There is liquid aquafaba companies with all the limitations of liquid due to short lifespan, storage and transport. And there is powdered aquafaba in the market, but it's very highly priced. So Fabomine is affordable, sustainable, and functional and versatile or multifunctional raw material. Thank you so much. I can take some answers now, take some questions now.
Thank you, Adi. Great presentation. We have some questions from our audience. Let's start with this one. It seems like your unique selling point lies in your drying unit. How do you justify the business case for food manufacturers to adopt Fabomine over some other cheaper alternatives to traditional egg whites?
Thank you for that. First of all, yes, as I mentioned, when we interviewing our customer, the egg price keep rising because it keeps changing and it's impossible to plan a yearly production. So we compare ourselves to the egg prices, egg powder price. We're gonna sell Fabomine in $15 per kg, and we have a stable supply, and this price will be stable during the year. And what's unique about Fabomine, because it's not only for the food industry, it's also for cosmetics, for the cosmetic industry, it's also for plant nutrition industry, and even for premium dog food. And it's all made from waste. It's that insane. And we do not extract the protein itself because the secret in aquafaba lies in the mixer. So we are ready to go tomorrow morning, actually, and already supply our customers their new B2B raw material.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, I see a technical question here. Let's go for this one. Egg whites have unique foaming, binding, and gelling properties, which is essential in baking. Does your solution work as a one-on-one replacement for egg whites, or do manufacturer need to do some reformulations? And if reformulation is required, what are some of the trade-offs?
Thank you for that. Yes, when you change one ingredient inside the recipe, you have to adjust all the recipes. It's almost one-to-one, but it's never the same because phosphamine adds some moisture into the product, so we need to adjust the oils or the liquids. So our customer need to adjust their recipes, and this is what we do with most of them as for now. You saw we are in field test with amazing food concerns like Givaudan and Bimbo Group. They're all testing our powder because they find it interesting. And yes, we do need to adjust the recipe. It's not that of a challenge because it's quite simple. We just need to adjust the amount of the ingredients, but we do use the same ingredients, just replace the egg and in phosphamine and just to adjust the other recipes. Sorry, the other ingredients, sorry. So it's almost one-to-one.
Okay, great. Maybe one more question.
Yeah.
Now that the users of GLP-1 drug users are increasing in the US, which means alternative egg usage might increase for protein intake, do you have any plans to position your ingredient for those applications, or what's your view around that area?
Thank you for that. Yes, we see this crisis as an opportunity to expose our customers and the end customers to alternatives, because every crisis brings an opportunity with it. So we see that as an opportunity to expose the customers to our solution, and we really think that together, by adopting another solution, a plant-based solution, maybe we won't jeopardize the customers, our health, our production lines. Just using plant-based, it's safety. We offer 100% food safety, no allergens, no risk for salmonella or bird flu or even antibiotics. So just test plant-based ingredients.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adi. We'll now move on to our next presentation, which is from Guy Bensby from O-Taste. Over to you, Guy.
Thank you, Ella. So hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. So I want to talk to you about a new way to taste, and my company's name is O-Taste. Our mission is to enhance taste, improve cost effectiveness, and upcycle raw materials of the food ingredients with our patented micromilling technology. And let's take sugar as an example. Just imagine sugar as a liquid, as an oil. So the sugar problem of the world, everyone here knows about it. We consume 180 million tons of sugar every year. The market value of sugar is not so high, only $100 billion, but the real cost of sugar is the cost of diabetes care, which reaches almost $1 trillion today. But in this global disaster of diabetes, there is an opportunity. And the opportunity is the blue ocean of people, maybe 2 billion people on Earth, that have stopped consuming high sugar products. People with diabetes, people with obesity, people on low carb, keto, paleo diets, or just worried parents that don't want their kids to be as diabetic as their grandparents. But sugar is not the real enemy. Too much, the enemy is too much sugar. Actually, sugar is critical for us, and our body will maintain the glucose level in our blood constant, even if we fast for a whole week. And on the other hand, sweetness is not a solution, because all the artificial sweeteners are either untasty or unhealthy, and typically they are both. So can food be sweet, tasty, and healthy at the same time? My answer is yes, with O-Sweet. We think it's the only real solution. That's why it's a blue ocean. And how do we do this magic? So we actually, I hope you can see my camera, we actually take sugar and oil and mix them. And normally, if you try to mix sugar and oil, they would immediately separate into a very heavy slurry, like sand in water. But with our patented process, we wet mill it down to the texture of this product. This is also just an example, and I hope you will be able to see that I'm taking out the paste. Maybe I have here 0.5 gram of sugar and oil. It's actually the same composition as this product, exactly the same, 50% sugar, 50% oil. And if I put it in my mouth is full with very fast and long lingering sweetness, like I ate a marshmallow and chewed it up. There are no chemicals here, no substitutes, no artificial flavors, no aftertaste. It's just a micro suspension of oil, very dry, not an emulsion, and it's ideal for sweet fatty foods. One product which some of you may recognize, a leading product on the market with 56% sugar, looks like this if you take away the cocoa. And our product, which is already selling in Israel and in America on Amazon, called Barely, contains only this amount of sugar, and it's very tasty and it's very sweet, and it's ideal for diabetics. Many other products can be made. This is a list of actual applications that we already developed in our lab or already selling on the market. Everything from butter dough to chocolate to creams, ice creams. This is a proof of one of the proof of concept of a real butter cookie. You can see that the spider map shows you that the sweetness is higher than the reference cookie in red, but still it has 35% less sugar. And we have no problem with the texture, like the crumbiness, and the overall acceptance is fantastic. Think about salt. What do you think about liquid salt? So the same process exactly, 50% salt, 50% oil, no artificial substitute, no aftertaste like potassium chloride. It's sprayable like oil on a production line or tumbler coated. And you can actually directly fry in also. Just put chips in your pan or in your container and fry directly with the salt going into the product. So these are products we have already made by ourselves or with customers. You see anything that is salty. This is popcorn, again, comparing to a market existing product. You can see the gray line. Saltiness is much higher, even though that the salt content of this popcorn or of our popcorn is 80% less than the existing products. And still, it's 1.5 times saltier. The same technology works with spice. We call it O-Spice. Same method. You mix everything, run it through the process. With spices, you can reduce the raw material cost because we enhance the flavor of garlic or pepper or paprika. No messy powders. The carrier platform is oil instead of powder. You have no fillers. You have a cleaner label. So these are type of products we already made with O-Spice. And the same technology works for high quality flavorants and spices, things like cocoa, enhancing the flavor of cocoa powder, enhancing and multiplying by many times the flavor of vanilla and coffee. And here we maximize the flavor extraction out of every gram of product. And we have reduced production costs because we utilize the flavorant more efficiently. No messy powders. Again, it's an oil carrier platform. And you can upcycle expensive spices. Like when you make instant coffee, you waste 40 or 50% of the coffee powder. We can utilize 100% of it. Our go-to-market is divided to 3 phases. We are in the B2C phase right now. These products are only on the market. We started now doing demos and proof of concept with customers, selling the raw ingredients B2B. And in the future, we will also sell the production lines and license them. So that's it. My name is Guy, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you so much, Guy, for the presentation. And we do have some questions on the technology. So you mentioned the wet milling microsuspension process. So what are the major cost drivers in the process, or what's hindering in the industrial scale adoption of your technology?
If you're talking about sugar reduction, actually our products are very cheap. The sweetener itself is very cheap. It's the cost of oil and sugar, the same oil and sugar you use in your product. But because we reduce the amount of sugar, let's say from 50% to 7%, we need to fill in 40% of bulk. And this bulk is more expensive. That's the highest cost driver, but that's true for any alternative sweetener. Actually, a sweetener is cheaper than all the other sweeteners because it's just sugar. And there's nothing hindering it. Just we just started sampling the market half a year ago, and we're progressing with proof of concept and demos with many customers. About the spices and salt, in salt we are cost neutral. We don't add any cost to the salt solution. With spices we're actually cost positive. That means we reduce the cost because we save on the very expensive materials like vanilla. Okay.
That's clear. We have another interesting question from audience. So can you briefly explain the mode of action and why the mixture intensifies the taste?
Okay, so in food science, in flavor science, you have two factors that affect the size of the particle. We are talking not on liquids, we're talking about solids. When you eat chocolate or when you eat ice cream, especially when you eat chocolate, what you feel a solid sugar particle. You don't feel a sugar solution. It's not like a drink, a Coca-Cola or sweet coffee. So the crystal size determines the efficiency of the flavor compared to the mass of the product. So if you reduce the particle size, average particle size of white sugar is 500 microns, and we reduce it 100 times to 5 microns or 3 microns, we increase the surface area a lot, approximately to the size of the taste buds. That's the sweetest spot, the size of the taste buds. The other function is if the flavorant is immersed in water or in oil. Oil is much better at conveying the flavor than water. That's why when a chef prepares a marinade, they always mix water and oil together to get an emulsion, because oil takes away the saliva, and saliva in food science is the enemy of flavor. So when our flavorants and spices are immersed in oil, they affect your senses much stronger with a much lower quantity. So this is like in 30 seconds on the food science part.
Thanks. That well explains the mode of action. Jumping to the last question, maybe. So how does your technology compete with the existing alternative sweeteners like, say, stevia or the emerging sweet proteins, like in terms of the price as well as on the current scale?
Coincidentally, I have here a table of competing technologies. There are tens or maybe hundreds of companies doing different things, but in this list, which most of the people here probably know these, anything from the legacy saccharine, aspartame type of old-fashioned to the sweet proteins and all kinds of solutions. Let's not focus on the cost of the sweetener, even though our sweetener is very sweet and very cheap, but let's focus on the right-hand side. Taste is king. Everybody in the artificial or sugar substitute knows that taste is king, and our sweetness is just like pure marshmallow, pure sugar, and the regulatory and safety factor. So when you just write on the label sugar and oil, or salt, sodium, or sodium chloride and oil, you don't change the label in any way. So we have no regulatory hurdles at all. We're just another type of milling in the food industry. So this is the best comparison, I think. And as you can see here, we get 5 stars on flavor, and we have a positive on safety and regulation. That's O-Taste here on the bottom. It's also very cheap. However, it's not suitable for substituting aspartame in Coca-Cola, because this technology must have fat in the system, fat or oil, which is most of the foods, but not the beverages. Okay.
Yes, that's clear. Thank you so much, Guy. Yeah. Our final presentation is from Ding Jitan, or DJ, from Preferred Coffee. Over to you, DJ.
Hi everyone, it's 11:50 p.m. here in Singapore. My name is DJ. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Prefer. We are a Singapore-based food tech startup making coffee without coffee beans. We've been around for about 2.5 years. And we are here on a mission to ensure that food and beverages, ingredients, favorite flavors they are currently under threat from climate change will always remain affordable and will become sustainable. We do this with our platform flavor technology, which essentially upcycles and turns food manufacturing byproducts and side streams into high-value ingredients such as coffee flavors. What is the problem here? Well, we know from climate models, price models, that coffee is facing an existential crisis. Climate change threatens to erode about half of the best farmlands over the next few decades. We see extreme weather phenomena, increasingly wreaking havoc on coffee supply by introducing supply shocks, whether it's frost, floods, or typhoons. And we see this reflected in the price of coffee. Today, even robusta prices see all-time highs. And our customers, who are coffee chains, FMCG companies, food service establishments, bars, restaurants, hotels, all face the same price pinch. What we want to do essentially is to provide simply a more affordable and more sustainable solution. We promise to be more affordable than our customers' current supply. And we also promise to maintain the same quality, same taste, and to provide them with a more consistent offering. We know today, because of climate change and weather, as well as pests and fungi, coffee harvest can be quite unpredictable in terms of its quality and quite inconsistent. We use fermentation to remedy that. We also know that 1 kilogram of coffee emits about 29 kilograms of greenhouse gases in carbon dioxide equivalents. By our early estimates, we think that we emit 5 times less CO2, and therefore, in a sense, are more sustainable. How do we do this? Well, earlier I mentioned that we use our platform fermentation technology. What we basically do is to use food manufacturing side streams, such as bread, soy, barley, rice, or even spent coffee. We ferment them using non-GM food-grade microorganisms, which essentially breaks down these ingredients into flavor precursors, which we are then able to recombine so as to reverse engineer and recreate the same key aroma volatiles that we find in coffee. This would be your thiols, pyrazines, furands. What do our customers use us today? Well, 3 key applications. One, we see a lot of interest in turning Prefer into a spray-dried or freeze-dried product. This supports the use of a more affordable, more sustainable supply of coffee in instant mixes, particularly in applications where the provenance of the coffee, the provenance or the origin of the ingredient isn't something that customers typically look out for. We also see a lot of interest in using us for ready drink applications, as well as in espresso machines for food service and quick service restaurant establishments. The roast and ground coffee powder that we create is insoluble and lends very well to such applications where you would use an insoluble coffee powder, such as espresso machines, cafetiere, French press, or even mocha pots. We've been in the market since January last year, and over 1 year, we've secured more than 50 different customers, different businesses, working from your independent hipster cafes to your 50 best world-renowned cocktail bars, from small restaurants to large food service and catering companies right here in Singapore. And of course, we don't see ourselves as a coffee company. We see ourselves as a flavor house. And we're just getting started with coffee. We know that coffee isn't the only ingredient that we love that is under threat from climate change. Scanning across the market, we see all-time high prices with cocoa and chocolate, and we see similar trends with vanilla, hazelnut, and even our beloved citrus. We want to use our platform fermentation technology to future-proof all these ingredients. We closed our US $2 million seed round back in 2023 with the support and love from venture capital funds based here in Singapore and Southeast Asia. We also grateful for the support of government-linked organizations such as A-Star and Enterprise Singapore, helping us at every step of the way. Prefer was started by my co-founder Jake and myself almost 2.5 years ago. And today we are a team of 12 with very exciting times. We've currently signed about 13 million of MOUs with FMCG companies, ingredient providers, coffee chains. And what we see is that our customers are very interested to integrate Prefer in their coffee supply as a coffee extender. Today, we are raising a pre-A round in order to service this demand. We want to scale up our production in Southeast Asia and across APEC. And we believe that this allows us to commercialize our product next year with 80% margins below the price parity of coffee. That's it. I'm DJ. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, DJ. Great presentation. Let's start panel questions from a question around consumer perception. So question is, upcycled ingredients often face formulation limitations due to some off flavors and variable compositions. How your company's ingredients have addressed some of these undesirable bitterness and solubility challenges?
Interestingly enough, today we don't really see that, those issues occur. We know that we are not a perfect match for coffee yet, but our customers believe that we are getting there, and they choose to support us with their wallets, with their product shelves, in a vote for us. As we mentioned earlier, today the product is insoluble, and it lends its applications to where you will use insoluble coffee powder. So that's perfect for food service applications as well as quick service restaurants. One way that we've worked to address this gap in flavor is to actually launch a hybrid or a blended product. So most of our customers today are interested in blending Prefer with their current coffee supply, and therefore use Prefer as a coffee extender. This allows them to use less coffee, which reduces cost, reduces carbon emissions, but still preserve the same flavor profile, same quality, and transfer some of these cost savings in turn to their customers.
Great. Next question is about, since you're developing flavors like vanilla, hazelnut, would you position your company as a flavor player in the near future? And if so, what new markets would you target and what would be your timeline?
Yeah, that's exactly right. As I mentioned earlier, we do see ourselves as a flavor house. In fact, we are working, we've launched bean-free coffee last year. This year, we plan to launch a cacao-free chocolate.
Awesome. And maybe one last question around supply chain and variability beyond your Singapore location, because byproduct composition from beer, bread, manufacturing can vary by origin, roasting, and processing method. How do you ensure consistent functional properties and flavor profiles when you scale across different geographies?
We see that our fermentation processes are quite robust. We have tried a variety of different ingredients of different origin and processing. We find that we largely get the same flavor, the same product, so that's quite comforting. We also know that as we scale, we will likely manufacture locally, which also means that each different geographical market that is supported by a local manufacturing arm would likely have its own distinct flavor properties. Which in turn I think makes sense for the market. The coffee preference and coffee market in Thailand is quite, it's not homogeneous with the same coffee preference and market in the Philippines or in Malaysia or Singapore for that matter. So it will make sense for us to tailor a product for the Thai market, another product for the Filipino market. That allows us to be closer to the ground, closer to consumers, really listen to where their preferences are, and hopefully that allows them to, again, support us with their wallets.
Awesome. Thank you, DJ. And thank you to all our presenters for your pitches. That concludes our Ideathon for today. The slide presentation and recording from this Ideathon will be sent to all attendees via email today. In just a moment, you will be prompted to complete a survey about today's event. We would appreciate any feedback you may have to help inform and improve future Ideathons. Take a moment and check out our upcoming Ideathons. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.